everybody loves this state. Everybody loves this program. And I know everybody's wanting this to be fixed right away, but it's a process. And, one of the things that I've learned through special teams is it's a lot harder than it looks.
This is former Razorback and Super Bowl champion Brett Goode, and you're listening to The Morning Rush.
Brad, it's been a while since we talked, man. How are you?
Brett, punch him up there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
There you go. It's been great. How are y'all doing?
Man, it's going. So that was a clip from your NWA touchdown days about 2 years ago, and unfortunately, the Chad Morris era did not do what we thought it was going to do. And kind of looking at, we'll start with special teams. You're a special teams guy, Brett. Scott Fountain coming over from Georgia, one of the most important hires that Sam Pittman made in the offseason. How excited were you to see that a special teams coordinator is back in the fold at Arkansas?
Very excited because it just shows that he's putting an emphasis on special teams. And if you look at the good teams, especially in the SEC, they've always put an emphasis on that. And it's a third of the game. And that's going to be a difficult challenge this year with not having a whole lot of live action. So the first real action you'll get is obviously Saturday. And with a coach like that, you're going to be more prepared. And we've noticed our blunders in the past of, that we've given up the punt return for a touchdown and everything else. And that's hurt us because that momentum can really shock a football team. Even just kicking a field goal, getting 3 points instead of 0, it's a big boost for your football team and the momentum moving forward.
Clay Henry, who's with us on Mondays and Fridays, sat down with Scott Fountain, the special teams coordinator, a couple of weeks ago and wrote a great article that detailed a lot of what they're trying to do. And Brady was talking about going 4 and 5 deep at a lot of the special teams positions, especially this year with COVID and the possibility of having players in quarantine and missing time, but trying to be that deep at a lot of positions. I know the NFL, when you played for 10 years on special teams, didn't have the luxury of being that deep, but how do you think that benefits Arkansas this year on all the coverage teams, all the kicking teams, being able to have that many people cross-trained at that many number of positions? What's the advantage for Arkansas this year doing it that way?
Well, it's huge because you have all these different guys that actually are playing a position that they've now practiced. A lot of times teams, they don't even practice and they throw somebody out there and they don't know what they're really doing. And not only does it benefit them now, but some of these players, the way that you make an NFL roster is playing special teams. Mm-hmm. And so being able to actually practice this and be next to a guy that is a good athlete, you're going to have to play special teams in the next level. So this coach knows it, the staff knows it, and they are preparing for it for the COVID and for the future.
All right, we'll come back and talk some more special teams because I know that's your specialty after playing 10 years in the NFL and winning a Super Bowl as a long snapper. But let's just talk football in general, line of scrimmage stuff, because I know you're excited just about the season beginning this weekend. What are your, as a former player, what are your expectations for Sam Pittman, this staff, and this season?
My expectations are high on the fact that I want to see guys finishing. I don't want to see whatever happens throughout the game. I don't want to see them quitting. You look at the years past, we've had NFL talent. We've got guys that made NFL rosters, but we haven't competed. And that's what I want to see is us competing. It's been a long off season. No spring football, a weird camp, weird schedule, a really tough schedule. And if we compete, I think we're going to shock some people that we have a chance to be in some ball games. Doesn't mean we're necessarily going to win them, but we might be in them longer than we were the last couple of years, and that's what excites me is what he brings to the table.
Brett Goode, former Razorback, former Green Bay Packer, with us on the Morning Rush. Brett, I was listening to a lot of the Touchdown Club conversation you had 2 years ago, and one of the things you mentioned is the atmosphere that Arkansas has on game day and just the overall, just the fan base, the entire state. Well, Brett, because of COVID and everything, you're not really going to get that in Donald W. this year. And I asked Felipe last night, and I was like, hey, man, so how are you going to get the younger players geared up, ready to go within not getting the full Razorback experience? For you, Brett, what's that going to be like for players that aren't getting that full Razorback experience, and how important to you was that on game day?
It was huge. You always remember running out of the A and walking down the line and seeing all the fans, and it was great. But don't get me wrong, the last couple of years, our crowd hasn't been great anyway. So we've got a lot of players with a lot of experience that without a crowd being there, and they've got to create their own energy. And that's what it's going to be a struggle for both sides of the ball. It doesn't surprise me if Georgia comes in. There's a little lull with them as well because it's going to feel like a practice scrimmage at full speed. And until they kind of get in the swing of things, it's going to be different. But it's going to be different all year. There's not going to be a lot of changes. So I hate it for those kids because that was such a big moment for me. But I really hate it for the seniors because the younger guys, they're going to get to experience that eventually. But it's the seniors that are missing out on that opportunity this year.
Brett, you mentioned those seniors. The NCAA has given the blanket waiver. Hey, if you want to come back for another year, as long as the school says it's okay, I'm just basically saying the gist of it, you can do that. How many seniors do you think will take advantage of the opportunity, if given, to be able to come back and play one more extra year?
I hope a lot of them actually take the opportunity to take full advantage of this, because not only can you extend your career through education and maybe get your master's or your master's plus 30, but if you're not kind of on the bubble of making an NFL roster, maybe go back and get one more year of experience, get a little bit bigger, get a little bit stronger, get educated in the game a little bit more. They can use it to their advantage to where they're not going to just go to the NFL training camp or even mini camp and just kind of fizzle out of the league. So it can be huge for a lot of players that are right there on the edge of making an NFL roster to get a little bit more experience.
Brett Goode with us here on the Morning Rush, brought to you by Henderson Phillips Employer Solutions. What's your thoughts on playing Georgia week one, game one, right out of the gate in this odd year? I've heard different takes, different opinions. I'd like to hear yours on, is playing Georgia early an advantage or a disadvantage for one of the best teams in the country?
I think the way 2020 is gone, we just got to rip the Band-Aid off. So I think it's going to be a great year for us. It's going to be a growing year. We've got a lot of things that we're going to have to learn as a team that they've been trying to build on so far in this limited time that they've had together. But I really like the staff. I really like what the players are talking about the staff of. There's a love, there's a care, and there's a commitment within the group. And what I want to see is Georgia's going to be the same way. It's going to be across every team. You're going to have the teams that fight through this are the teams that stick together. And I think we rip the Band-Aid off and we just try and go for it. Let's don't play to not lose. Let's play to win. And that's what I want.
Ty went down a list of team stats for Georgia's defense earlier, and it was number one. It was like a George Strait
number one.
It was like
Brett.
a George Strait playlist, man. Number one. They're all number one.
They play the game for a reason. Though.
So all their defensive stats, more or less, they were number one last year in all the big key numbers. What do we want? What should be our expectations? And that was last year. This is this year. So what do we want to see from Kendall Briles' offense early in this game and then over the course of this game? Help us calibrate expectations for the offense for this first game.
I think for a lot of Arkansas fans, we want to see more than 5% of our offense being played throughout the game. I think we want to open it up and attack. Attack them where we've been hopefully studying the game plan to see where every team has a weakness. You're going to try and find it, and you try to attack it. Now, theirs is a really small weakness, but you can still attack them. And there's going to be things that what they call unscouted looks that they haven't seen us really do, and what the players that hopefully we've implemented of putting guys in the right position to make some plays that we can kind of maybe catch them off guard. And that's what I hope for Briles and his offense is just to really take some strides and maybe get some explosive plays. You got to have explosive plays to keep the offense going. It's not just always just move the ball 3 yards down the field unless you're running the old wing tee. We've got to have the explosive plays, and then we've got to not commit turnovers, and that's what I hope that we can come out of this game with. You
use the term unscouted looks, probably stuff you're talking about, formations and plays that aren't on film yet. Tell the audience what you mean by that.
That's exactly right. It's formations. We always said it takes 4 games to really get an offense and kind of know what they're going to do, their tendencies. And it goes with the special teams when you're implementing that, and as well as defense. But it's mainly for offense that they throw in a lot of new wrinkles where we've got receivers, running backs, tight ends. We're running H-backs. We're running all kinds of different motions and trying to figure out if they're running man or zone. And it's just a combination that you can kind of take advantage of, which may help us with Georgia and early on throughout the SEC of being able to do some of these things that teams aren't prepared that Arkansas is going to do.
We're not going to. I'm sorry, Ty. We're not going to visit before next week. So I kind of want to ask you, what's your season expectations this year? What, by next week is too late. So I want to hear kind of what do you expect out of 10 games this year?
I expect if we play a full 10-game season and we keep most everybody healthy and off the COVID list, I expect us to get 3 to 5 wins. And
wow.
There's a bubble of if we compete and we fight and we finish all the way through the fourth quarter, we can actually maybe get another +1. And that would be a huge move for us. You know, we haven't won an SEC game in a long time. We haven't been to Alabama in a long time. We just need to improve each week and compete. That's what we need to focus on. We're not the team that says we're going out there to win the SEC West. We're the team that's trying to improve and get better each week and compete, and we'll have some chance to win some ball games.
Brett Goode, former Arkansas Razorback, former Green Bay Packer, with us on the Morning Rush. Brett, follow up to that. Why do you think they're going to be that? Is there a specific position? Is there a specific characteristic of this football team that leads you to believe that they're going to get that number of wins?
I think you take the staff, and I think that they have an SEC caliber staff finally, from the head coach to the defense to the special teams we've talked about, the Browse. Everybody on that staff, and it's not discrediting like the people in the past, but they are all known winners. And when you put winners around other people, people want to win. And I think that our players are tired of losing. I think that they have fought. I mentioned before, we've had NFL talents. We've had players that can play football. So it's just putting them all together, and I think they're going to get the most out of these kids, and that's what you really want.
Brett, before we let you go, man, I know with everything going on, things are kind of up in the air, but are you planning on going back to Green Bay for a Packers game at some point this fall?
You know, unfortunately, we were actually supposed to go back for our 10-year reunion this year, and they canceled it on us. So I don't know if Wisconsin's got different rules right now, and I don't know if we'll get back. They're not doing any of the alumni stuff, so it's going to be a little bit tougher to get back for that. And frankly, I'm just going to kind of probably ride it out at home and watch the games on TV this year.
Yeah, we'll talk some more NFL. Brett's going to be with us every Wednesday, so we've enjoyed this conversation. Brett, we're looking forward to having you with us in the middle of the week every week. We'll talk special teams. We'll talk a little NFL. It'll be a good football conversation. It's brought to you by Henderson Phillips Employer Solutions. We've been telling the audience for a couple of weeks, that's the new team you're on these days. Tell us what you're doing right now.
Oh man, I'm grinding away trying to sell insurance. We do everything from employee benefits to property and casualty. I wrote a life policy last week. It's just every single day we're grinding, trying to build a book of business, and we've got a great team put together with over 100 years of experience, an independent broker. So we have tons of carriers that we can choose from, and it's been a blast. It's been a great deal for me of the change, but it's also the competitive that I needed to have from football and being on a good winning team.
479-651-2292 is your direct number. People can call there and visit with you about any insurance needs, and we're looking forward to that visit with you each week. I know there's going to be something from special teams that happens this Saturday that you'll break down for us next Wednesday.
Absolutely. We just want to keep everything just kind of out there, and hopefully we don't even have to talk about any blunders on special teams.
Well, hopefully there's good things to talk about, like maybe
absolutely. We need some good things to talk about with everything, and that's what Hog fans really need is some good news this year.
All right, we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Brett Goode with us here. He'll be with us each Wednesday. Played 10 years in the NFL, former Razorback. He'll be with us on Wednesdays here on the Morning Rush, breaking down Arkansas football in every aspect and a little bit of NFL talk as well.